Hidden in the shadows of history lies a doctrine that once threatened the early followers of YAHUSHA, a doctrine so sinister, so deceptive, that it earned the hatred of the king himself. This doctrine is known as the doctrine of the Nicolaitans. The Nicolaitans revealed. To understand why this teaching provoked such strong condemnation, we must travel back to the time of the first century churches, a time when the early ecclesia in Ephesus and Pergamum fought to preserve their faith. In Revelation chapter 2, verse 6, YAHUSHA speaks directly to these churches, saying, "But this thou hast, that thou hatest the deeds of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate." Strong words from the one who is full of grace and truth. But who were these Nicolaitans? And what was their doctrine that stirred such divine displeasure? The Nicolaitans, as historical sources suggest, were a group that rose from within the early ecclesia community, claiming to have knowledge of deeper mystical truths. They believed in keeping Torah a core element of the faith of Yeshua, but insisted that through grace they were saved from the need to uphold it. The doctrine of law and grace. The doctrine of the Nicolaitans was a twisted understanding of grace. While they accepted the commands given to Masha, observing the Torah, the dietary laws, and even the Shabbat, they perverted the concept of grace. To them, grace was a license to sin or transgress the law, a liberation from the moral responsibility that came with keeping the law. The Apostle Paul warned of this in his letters. In Romans chapter 6, verses 1 and 2, he asks, "Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Yah forbid." The Nicolaitans distorted this very purpose of grace. They believed that their freedom in YAHUSHA meant that they could engage in immoral behavior, yet remain guiltless because of divine forgiveness. Their teaching became a dangerous blend of lasciviousness and half-hearted legalism. The Old Testament foundation and warnings. The Nicolaitans believed that they could uphold parts of the Torah while being free from its moral requirements was not new. In the Old Testament, we see the children of Yeshua repeatedly falling into the same trap. Time and time again, they believed that as long as they performed outward rituals or looking the part, their hearts could remain far from Yahuwah. The prophet Yeshayahu confronted this hypocrisy head on, declaring, "This people draw near with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me." Yeshayahu chapter 29, verse 13. The Nicolaitans, though living in a different era, embodied this same ruah. They upheld certain rituals, but allowed immorality to flourish within their community, believing that grace would cover their transgressions of the law. In the book of YAHUSHA, or Leviticus chapter 18, verse 30, the children of Yeshua are commanded to keep my ordinances, so that you do not commit any of these abominable customs. Yet the Nicolaitans introduced customs that were not only abominable, but also contrary to the holiness required by the law. They sought to blend the purity of Yah's commands with the pagan practices of the surrounding culture. The New Testament Confrontation. The Nicolaitans' teaching became so widespread that even the Apostle Yahunatan, the beloved disciple, addressed their influence in his letters. In 1 Yahunatan chapter 2, verse 4, he writes, "He who says, 'I know him,' but does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him." The Nicolaitans boasted of their knowledge, yet their lives betrayed the truth of their claims. Their practices had seeped into the churches, leading many astray. In the church of Pergamum, the Nicolaitans promoted a message that was comfortable, easy, and permissive, allowing believers to indulge in sin while claiming spiritual superiority. But the Mashiach's words to this church were sharp. Repent, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will fight against them with the sword of my mouth. Revelation chapter 2, verse 16. Why did YAHUSHA hate this doctrine? YAHUSHA hated this doctrine so deeply because it made a mockery of both grace and the law. It distorted the truth of salvation. The law was never intended to be a burden, but a guide to holiness. Grace was not a license to abandon the law, but a gift to empower believers to uphold its ruach. The Mashiach's heart was grieved by the Nicolaitans because they led many into complacency. Their message comforted the flesh, but starved the ruach. The true purpose of grace, as Paul explained in Titus chapter 2, verses 11 and 12, is teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. The Nicolaitans may have disappeared into the pages of history, but their influence still lingers. The dangers of twisting grace remain. As we strive to follow the Mashiach, let us remember his warning against this doctrine and seek to live lives that reflect the true balance of grace and holiness. And remember, grace empowers, but never excuses. Don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button to Yahuwah's Remnant. Continue to part 2, where we will discuss the hidden parallels between Christianity and the doctrine of the Nicolaitans. Shalom.